Overwatch balance is complicated to say the least. It's like a car in the sense that you can take a little away and it'll still work. Forget some grease here, a part there, and it'll still function at the bare minimum. No one saying it'll function well, but it'll work. Each hero has their own niche. Sombra picks off stragglers or those who need to play away from the team. Bastion spits out crazy damage but is a glass cannon, and Mei slows down heroes with movement abilities. Everyone has their niche, but many do broader things that overlap. McCree and Soldier beam at mid-range. Junker Queen and Reaper both have shotguns with abilities to close the gap. But then we have a tighter niche. A group of heroes that are so controversial many debate their place in the game in general. Only 2 heroes were in this category, and they arguably required the most skill to be used effectively. One of these titans of skill and precision was hurt but not broken, and one was too volatile to be kept the way that they were. This video is about Hanzo, but more importantly it's about comparison. It's about how not to fix a character that many players had a problem with. Let's start with some context. Hanzo has had a long history of being vilified by the community. He used to have an ability called Scatter that ricocheted and could do insane headshot damage, but that was removed after Backlash. And after that, Hanzo was a hero that had 5 key components that when combined left a sour twinge of unfairness in those who faced him. His weapon was the biggest contributor to this perceived problem. He had a bow that could be charged, and when fully charged it could eliminate most other DPS heroes with a precise headshot. He has insane movement to go with this, as he shares the wall climbing ability that Kiriko and Genji have as well, and not to mention one of his cooldowns was a dash forward for extra dodging potential. His second cooldown, Storm Arrow, is a barrage of arrows that also did crazy damage when headshotting. And finally, he had Sonic Arrow, which gave sight through walls within a certain range of its target. Now, what did this culminate into? The most important thing I said before was his weapon. Many people who play Overwatch just don't like one-shots, and the fact he could do it 2 feet in front of you as well as having Storm Arrow to shred your health if you ambush him was frustrating. You also have to factor in how hard it was to hit him due to his lunge and small hitbox. He could also ambush you extremely easily with the whole ability to climb walls thing, or you could just use it to run away. People ragged on him for being unskillful, and that really wasn't the problem here. You couldn't just spam sightlines in the same way that someone like Junkrat can. That Hanzo that was rolling your team was just extremely good at his job. And this isn't to say that it justified his strength, but it proves the community at large didn't understand Hanzo as a character. The outcry was at an all-time high about Hanzo. Well, about one-shots. We'll focus on Hanzo's purple arachnid cousin in a second. To many, Hanzo had a clear problem, and Blizzard had infinite opportunities to fix this, and they chose what I and many believe to be the worst possible scenario. Hanzo was not changed. His damage was left untouched, so what went wrong? Well, every character in the February 13th patch of 2024 was given additional health as well as a couple other notable changes. You're probably seeing the pieces fall into place now. Hanzo had lost the ability to one-shot anyone but Tracer and was now a completely different hero entirely. Blizzard did not change him, they just changed the environment he was in. Obviously this was a game-wide change and it wasn't directed at Hanzo, but the outcome of Hanzo being nerfed was clearly intentional. This is where the hypocrisy comes in, however, because anyone who has played Overwatch recently knows that Widowmaker has kept her one-shot and Hanzo hasn't. Why was it okay for her and not him? To answer that, we have to analyze Widow's kit for a second as well. Her main ability is her gun, no questions asked. Her grappling hook is used for getting vantage points easier, and her mine is used for anti-flank protection. While her and Hanzo had clear similarities, unlike Widow, Hanzo's problem came from his abilities just as much as his weapon did. Widowmaker did get a range nerf, but this didn't change much as most sightlines in the game are just shorter than her max range. To make a long story short, Blizzard could not possibly fix Widow without complete gutting and rework to the degree of nothing we have seen in Overwatch history. To be clear, this is just a classic case of Blizzard being extremely lazy. Widow is way more frustrating to play against, and Hanzo was the one who got changed. It just doesn't make sense. Still, in my opinion, Widow is nowhere near as problematic as other characters in the game, because if you're against a busted Widow, just pick one of the 5 heroes that completely turn her off, but that's a video for another day. Turning the page back to Hanzo's battered corpse, let's discuss if these changes he had were warranted in retrospect, and if so, what should have happened to fix him instead of what we have now. Hanzo definitely had too much going for him. He was strong close, far, and mid-range, and while he lacked the instant death ray gun that Widow has, he still was an all-rounder that wasn't congruent with the other DPS heroes around him. As a retired Hanzo player, he deserved a nerf, no doubt, but what did he deserve? I have a couple ideas. He could have become a centralized mid-range hero, so here all he needed was just Storm Arrow to be changed. They could have made it do half the body shot damage per arrow and 2/3 the headshot damage, even knocked it down to 3 arrows instead of 5. They could have changed the base arrow to do 50 instead of 120 on a charged body shot to make him rely on headshots only. This would also come with storm arrow changes, of course. Or they could have just implemented some mechanic where the arrow does more damage as it travels. These changes are so simple, and while they may make a Hanzo main wince in agony, when you compare this to the destruction he faced already, they would be leagues better. Okay, where does that leave Hanzo now? I've heard many people call him useless, but I just disagree. He was always good at tank busting, and that's really all he does best now. He is absolutely outclassed, but he has his players and his past players who want the old Hanzo back. Vocal creators and much of the player base just hated him too much for him to ever be reverted. I doubt we'll ever get the old Hanzo back, but I do think we'll have some buffs in the future that make him stand out. Not in the same way he did before, but still. It really is like this game is trying to make itself less skillful and more spam reliant, man. Everyone just has so much health that it just feels impossible to kill anyone, especially when they have a heal bot 7 yards in their sphincter. It's especially funny that people complain that all Hanzo did was spam arrows, but Blizzard turned him into a character that does nothing but that. It's actually hilarious. Definitely sad too though, because Hanzo was one of my favorite characters for a long time. Hopefully we'll see a change in him in the future. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good one, and goodbye.